I'm Kerry Dunaway. I'm the director of the Clark County Historical Museum in Grove Hill, and today we are here at the Mount Nebo Cemetery, where we will be soon taking a look at some wonderful folk art by a man named Issac Nettles. I am certainly not the authority on Issac Nettles, but when I first learned about him in the late 90s, the more I learned about him, the more excited I became, and the more I believed that his story should be told. And today, thanks to the University of South Alabama, we're going to be able to tell you more about Issac Nettles and make sure that he is not forgotten. Issac Nettles was born here in what used to be known as Nettles Quarters in 1888. His parents were Jake and Selena Nettles, who were born as enslaved people around 1860. In fact, this area where we are now and where he was born is only a few miles from where an enslaved man named Howe led a revolt against plantation owners in the 1830s. Clark County is the fourth largest county in area in Alabama. And where we're located is at the convergence of the Alabama and Tombigbee rivers. So it is from this location that Issac Nettles would become a great inventor and artist. It is written in many places and many times by family members that he attended Tuskegee University under Booker T. Washington. However, according to the legend, he had to come home due to financial reasons. Then in 1911, he married his wife, Cora B. Ruffin, who was in Birmingham at the time, but a native of Tuscaloosa. Then by World War I, he was working at Mobile Pulley Works. Then he and Cora had the following children that I was able to determine: Edna, Barnes, Marie, Issac Jr., Mission, and Clara, who were all born in Alabama, and Pauline and Valen, who were born in Ohio. There was another daughter who was listed in the 1930 census, a daughter named Brigaz. However, she died on July 6, 1933 in Detroit. Detroit is significant because in the early 1930s, and at least by the late 1930s, he was in Detroit working for Ford Motor Company. And it is while he is in Detroit that he filed his first patent for one of his inventions. One was for a gun with a reciprocal breech block and rotary feeder, and the other was for a contraption that he called the velocipede. Now, the velocipede, according to him, was for use for business or pleasure and operated by foot power, aided by the occupant and the weight of carried materials within certain limits. This tombstone has 3 faces, and these faces are those of his 3 children. But that is not who is buried here. The 3 children's faces are his daughters, Pauline, Marie, and Clara, and they are here on the tombstone of his wife, Cora. This burial was July 6, 1933, and due to the medium that Issac Nettles used, which was concrete and a mixture of other things, then this is not able to be here permanently. And so what you'll notice is that the elements have worn the faces from what used to be very distinguishable features to now more flat or orb-like in a way. Mm-hmm. This effigy at one time had a torso and hair, but the torso portion was destroyed during Hurricane Frederick in 1979, and then later the face was still attached, and over the last 10 years, while the form of the head is still there, the face is no longer remains. But this is Issac's mother, Selena, who was born near here in 1860. She married Jake, and they were married in 1881. And I was able to determine some of the children that they had. They had a son named Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, Obi, Joseph. There were twins, Jurah and Gideon. Then Sam, Rabi, Clara. And then he must have really wanted hers to be very special, to do the entire upper torso. But she died in 1940, the month of January. This tombstone has the face of one of his relatives, Angel Isella Nettles, who he dubbed on the song Sis Dolly. And in the 1980s, there was a newspaper article written, and one of his local residents here in the neighborhood described the process that he used to create these lasting images. And this is a quote. Her name is Hilda Jackson, and she said, "Ike would make the masks from cement, paper, and wire while you were still alive. It scared me when he said I'd have to press my face in a box of sand to make the impression for the mask. I knew I couldn't stand to put my face in the sand. I thought I might smother." He asked her about the time she was 21 years old, but she did decline. This stone belongs to Emmanuel Burl, who lived in the neighborhood. And according to what I was able to dig up, Mr. Burl was such a fan of Mr. Nettles' work that he requested that his face be memorialized on his stone. So he went through the process that we described previously. Now, up into the last 5 years, this stone was the one that was the best preserved. However, someone came and shot the forehead of this effigy, which was devastating. At first, it was just the bullet hole, and then over time, huge chunks of his forehead began to fall off of the death mask. And this is what we are left with today. In conclusion, I hope that you have learned a little bit more about Isaac Nettles, an African-American man who was born in a rural part of Clark County, who went on to become a great folk artist and inventor and contributed largely to Clark County's history. He also did a few other really neat inventions. His great-nephews told me that he built a plane, and he also had various contraptions set up around his house in order to make farming easier. If you would like to learn more about Isaac Nettles and his other inventions, which we didn't mention today, please feel free to contact the Clark County Historical Museum or Historical Society in Grove Hill, Alabama, where we have other supplemental materials which you can read and learn more about him. We've been publishing a historical journal for 48 years, and we have one issue that's dedicated to Mr. Nettles. Feel free to stop by for a tour and either purchase a copy of the article, or you can read it there at our gift shop. Thank you.